Young Thug is scheduled to appear in court today in Georgia on related charges. The rapper, whose real name is Jeffrey Lamar Williams, was one of 28 people named in an indictment in that state.
With the YSL RICO trial announced to start, things are already looking good for Young Thug. It was officially announced today. The Young Thug and YSL RICO trial is expected to officially start November 27th. Starting tomorrow, 12 jurors and 6 alternates will be seated from the pool of 50 qualified jurors, with additional information shared here.
We finally have a jury. According to this tweet by Thugger Daily on Twitter, the jury's demographics are 9 women, 3 men, 7 black women, 2 white women, 1 white man, and then the 6 alternate jurors are 3 black women, 2 white men, and then 1 black man. So it's going to be a good mix of this jury. This started off with 28 indicted defendants, including Young Thug. Some of them took plea deals. Some of them have been severed from the case. Some of them don't have lawyers, not even public defenders. And one person is still on the run. And so after all of that, we are down to 7 defendants. So when this trial starts on November 27th, it will be 7 defendants in that courtroom. And that does include Young Thug.
Originally, there was 28 members of YSL that were arrested in connection to this RICO case. However, after many snitched out, as well as some being excused, we're only now down to 7 YSL members left. Young Thug's lawyers are already making huge moves which can help the evidence provided by these snitches no longer usable against Young Thug. As it all begins with a report of, and I quote, Brian Steele says Lil Woody was told he would get 25 years in federal prison in a different case if he didn't cooperate against Young Thug, aka Snitch. The state refuses to give anything to the defense concerning the federal agent that went after Lil Woody with this. Brian Steele wants to put her on the stand to show the jury that Woody was told to lie about Jeffrey Williams.
Specifically is on the recording, KC, that he will get, that she spoke with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and he is facing, if he does not cooperate against Mr. Williams, he's facing 25 years at a minimum charges in federal court, and there's no parole. I do not have one document, not one note or memoranda provided in discovery concerning ATF agent Cunningham.
With the YSL trial now beginning in roughly 26 days, we will be getting an official answer if all of the evidence Lil Woody provided will be usable or not. Lil Woody provided a majority of the evidence the prosecutors are using against Young Thug. As in the report of, and I quote, YSL Woody popped out on the gram last year after cooperating with police for 3 hours and solving over 50 crimes, telling on Young Thug, YFN Lucci, and others. As Lil Woody snitched for roughly 3 hours to the police department, with it all being recorded on video. He said every single illegal thing the YSL group, including Young Thug, Lil Baby, and Gunna, has ever done in the last decade. As when this was originally announced in court, this was Young Thug's reaction. Lil Woody is also the main reason that Young Thug never received a bond throughout the entire last year, which is why the prosecutor even said this about Young Thug during the first court hearing.
He's the one directing traffic. He is the one they're all afraid of. He's the one that's king slime. He is the most dangerous of the 28, Judge. And I implore you not to grant him a bond. He is dangerous. If he gets a burner, Judge, and the court may know this, a lot of the communications that Mr. Williams is on FaceTime, because it's not traceable, it's not trackable. Judge, I will also say that we have taken proffers from fellow from Mr. Williams. Some are on this indictment, some are not. They have stated uniformly that Mr. Williams is dangerous. They are afraid of him, that if they cross him, he will them and their family. And they were very clear about that.
Concerns that this court has is danger to persons and to intimidate other witnesses and obstruct the administration of justice. So I And for those reasons in the aggregate, I'm going to deny bond at this time.
As the prosecutor got Lil Woody snitching evidence in a non-legal way, and he ended up forcing Lil Woody to say these things or else he'd be serving a life sentence. If this is found to be true, all evidence provided by the snitches, including Lil Woody, will no longer be usable against Young Thug. So with the good news out, Lil Baby would even react by revealing this about Young Thug.
How you doing, Lil Baby? Lil Baby. Well, baby, how's Young Thug doing? I know
Give some space, man. Give some space, please.
Just want to see how they holding up good? Sure. All right. Love what you're doing, man.
However, not everything is perfect. To understand this, we need to dive deep into Young Thug's new charges that are against him, as new evidence reveals that Young Thug and the YSL rap group were doing rituals with goats, as a lawyer would go on to explain this.
But in this case, Hassan says he's unclear what specifically a goat could represent.
The theory behind animals is you're draining their energy, their power, and to use for mystical purposes, and obviously interviewing former members who were present who could explain the context and what if any ceremony was taking place. Then you have some illumination possibly on it.
He also said animal sacrifices may be illegal in some areas and not protected under religious freedoms.
As once again, this was information provided by somebody snitching against Young Thug. And it just so happens where Young Thug was living at the time, it is one of the states where it is illegal to do the actions that YSL was doing with a goat. This means more charges against Young Thug, minimizing his chances at receiving bond. However, with a trial date set, receiving bond no longer matters at this point. It's very clear that law enforcement is targeting Young Thug with everything possible to have zero chance of him ever being released on a bond or even just released from this case. Earlier in the RICO case, you may remember Young Thug and his lawyer tweeted at Michael Phelps saying, and I quote, "I'm talking with my roommate and we're wondering if you could swim 100 miles from the middle of the ocean back to shore," at Michael Phelps. Something as innocent as a single tweet sent out by his manager, prosecutors started alleging that this tweet is code words for YSL members in the free world to go out and commit crimes on his behalf.
Williams is in a jail outside of Fulton County. There are 0 cell phones in that jail.
That last tweet that was sent out to Michael Phelps is recorded. It's been investigated by the sheriff of that county, and it was a conversation that's recorded between Mr. Williams and a member of his close friendships, that he asked the other person who has control of his Twitter account. That is not a reason to...
Well, this is part of the conversation, Mr. Steele, and you and others are going to need to have with your clients, because this is part of the state's concern. I mean...
That was an innocent... That's nothing bad. Asking somebody to tweet to Michael Phelps, "Can you swim 100 miles in the ocean?" That has nothing to do with intimidation. I'd ask you,
well, if I can communicate through a family member or somebody else, then I can communicate something else.
Everything okay over there?
Sorry.
Yep. Okay, your family was concerned that something was going on. You're fine, right?
Yes, I'm great.
Okay, cool.
To even out the playing field, Young Thug's lawyers then had Young Thug's father do an interview this week. Young Thug's father would go on to do a random interview stating that Gunna did not snitch on Young Thug. However, it really seems like his dad is trying to make it seem like Thug wants no revenge against Gunna for snitching if he ever was to be released.
Courtney said, "How do you feel about Gunna?"
I love Gunna.
See, that's the thing. People don't understand the relationship. They got this thing saying that Gunna is a rat and he's done this and done that.
But see, let me try to help the attorney clarify that a little simpler.
Okay.
Gunna hasn't done anything whatsoever that can hurt us on this case. Period.
Thug's lawyers don't want the judge thinking or even believing that Young Thug wants any sort of revenge against Gunna for what he did. However, according to rappers, what Gunna did completely ruined Young Thug's life, as 6ix9ine would even hop on a Clubhouse call with Whack 100 explaining that Young Thug is now in a terrible situation due to what Gunna did.
So me pleading guilty is only making it worse for my man. I'm saying I was there. Yes, I did it. I plead guilty. I am guilty. I am guilty. Anything you said in that courtroom is going to be used against your man, my man. That is open.
Then just a week later, he would meet up with DJ Akademiks to share even more thoughts about Gunna snitching.
He just implicated YSL being so now he's home, right? All the people who's locked up, like Jeffrey, like Young Thug, now he can't go with that defense. He can't go with the defense of saying, I'm a record label.
As while Gunna snitching may not have affected Young Thug's life, according to Thug's father, we are learning that it's doing a lot more to rappers in the Atlanta area. As the Atlanta DA announced, due to snitching evidence that they were given from YSL members, Lil Baby is now next up on the Atlanta DA's RICO list.
An in-depth investigation. Recent months, you've had 2 high-profile racketeering cases. There are going to be more.
Over the next 60 days, you'll see 2 more.
Trying to calm down the RICO situations in Atlanta, Young Thug's lawyer would go on to do something amazing. To understand this, we need to look at a man named YSL Polo. Recently, YSL Polo was acting like this in court just 2 weeks ago.
I'll deal with that accordingly, but your client, I notice, has been doing the same behavior, and I believe Judge Adams inquired into it as well. So I don't believe that he may be doing just for the purposes of just drawing attention to himself. But of course, sir, as you are well aware, I'm duty bound to consider whatever it is you want to tell me. But your client's nodded in affirmance. He just has some extra movements that the court entirety of this particular proceeding. So you haven't said anything up to this point in time, so I'm going to assume that that's something that you and he are working through.
As having as many YSL members taken off of this RICO list as possible is a best case scenario for Young Thug. So Young Thug's lawyers began arguing in court that Polo needs to be removed from the trial immediately, as he continued showing up to court dates acting like this. Where it would then officially be announced that YSL Polo had been dropped from the YSL RICO case. Now this is a huge win for Young Thug, and let me explain. Fans would investigate all of the YSL members that are currently sitting in jail. Allegedly, Polo, the man acting strange, was in the same cell block as a man named Khalif Adams in jail. He is a YSL member that was caught trying to slip Young Thug something during a court hearing, where it was officially reported my colleague Mark obtained surveillance video that shows the moment prosecutors accuse Young Thug and his co-defendant Khalif Adams of conduring a hand-to-hand deal inside a court. As it continues reading, prosecutors say the surveillance shows Adams walking over to where Young Thug is seated with his attorney, then drops narcotics in his hand. A deputy confronts Young Thug, and he turns the item over to authorities. When deputies searched Adams, they found him in possession of narcotics wrapped in plastic and food seasoning to conceal the odor. As it was officially announced that Khalif Adams may be the one to go to inside of jail if you need something a little extra. This is then when it was announced that Young Thug's attorney responded to these allegations that his client was involved in the deal. Basically, that Young Thug allegedly told him to slip him something inside of the courtroom, however he never did. Where Young Thug's lawyer would say this.
The reality is Mr. Williams had nothing to do with what went on in the courtroom on yesterday. One of the co-defendants on his way to the restroom attempted to pass something to Mr. Williams, who immediately turned it over to the deputy.
He did not know it was allegedly...
Did not know. Well, we don't know what it is. Did not know what it was, turned it over to the deputy right away. The deputies took action. The individual who had the contraband, not Mr. Williams, was taken into the back.